ụlọ nsọ gị Chukwu ka ị na-abata, bịakwute ya bịa zuru ike. Anya bịawa ịsọpụrụ gị ugbu a, bịakwute ya bịa zuru ike. Bịa o bịakwute ya, bịakwute ya, bịakwute ya bịa zuru ike. Bịa o bịakwute ya, bịa o bịakwute ya, bịakwute ya bịa zuru ike. Chukwu nna n'ụlọ gị ka ị na-akpọ gị, bịakwute ya bịa zuru ike. Otito na-adịrị gị mgbe niile, bịakwute ya bịa zuru ike. Bịa o bịakwute ya.
Ndewo, good morning, Mamano. Before we get started, let us bring in my co-host who is going to offer a prayer this morning. Dibia Yudi, Ndewo, Mama.
Ndewo, Yagazie.
Thank you for joining us today. Go ahead, please, and offer your prayer.
Otidondile diri Chineke, Obasi di elu, Chukwu obi ọma, Chidi ebere, Olisa nwa amara, ka ozi anyị niile ọbụla niile bụrụ ihe, ka ihe ọbụla kpatara aka bụrụ sọ mma, ka ụwa niile site n'ozi ọma anyị a, mụsa obi aṅụrị, taa na ebighị ebi, ọfọ, Yagazie, ise, all praises to Chi the Creator, the Supreme Being, Chi the Good, Chi the Merciful, Chi the Magnificent with grace. Let every way of our lives be light, let all our acts be crowned with good, and may the world prosper from our ministry now and forever. So let it be. Amen.
And so it is. And so it is. I do believe that we're having a little bit of a challenge this morning. It's the link to YouTube somehow is different on here than what was sent earlier. So we're going to go and get started, and then I'll take myself out while we try to do the technical work that needs to be done. Okay. First of all, I want to remind everyone who UD is. UD is one of the DBS of the Global Faith Ministries of Chiism International, and the Dean of Chiis Education for Chiis Mahadum, which is university. And he's in charge of Guardianism for South America and Canada. So I am very, very grateful to welcome him to this session today. Ndewo to all of you. I'm your host, Anoke Dibia Ochoaja of the Global Faith Ministries of Chiism International. And I'm the president and chancellor of Chiis Mahadum University. I'm also the continental envoy for Guardianism for the United States and the Americas. I'd like to start by giving honors and respect to the divine. To my parents, Obaja Ahaike Okeonyoha, the spiritual head of the Guardian religion. My husband, my mother, Noha Ngozi Onyoha. The noble Udiche, honorable ancestors, all the universal Arunsi, all graces of nature as ascribed by Chineke. May our journey each day be free of challenges. May no evil see us, and may our enemies be diverted to other focus. Our topic today is Africans, stop giving away your identity. It goes without saying that collaboration among world religions can lead to a more harmonious, just world, benefiting individuals and societies. Many religions share core values such as compassion, love, and justice. Working together allows these commonalities to shine through. promoting a sense of community and shared purpose. Interfaith cooperation encourages cultural exchange and learning, enriching communities and broadening perspectives. This can help dismantle stereotypes and foster empathy. Our differences and our diversity are a gift from divine Chineke. With that in mind, there is no need for any group to try to usurp someone else's spiritual traditions as their own, thereby distracting and creating confusion. By ignoring the relevance of our spirituality as a foundation of our values, we discard those values and lose our identity. Thus, there's so many quests for validation from others. Joining us today is our special guest, Dr. Obi Onyoha Pierce, who is an anthropologist and the Continental Envoy for the Ghanaian Religion for Europe and the Dean of African Leadership Studies at Chist Mahadum. Before I bring her in, I just want to take a quick break and handle what I indicated I'm going to take care of. And we'll just listen to a beautiful African song. Be right back.
Were obi nwayọ, were obi dị mma na-eto Chineke. Were obi dị mma, were obi nwayọ, were obi dị mma na-eto Chineke. Asị na mmadụ niile ndị bi n'ụwa ga-anụ ihe, ha ga-anụ ebe Chineke na-ajụ. Ọ bụ gịnị mere ume n'ụwa jere ibe ha iro, ebe ya bụ Chukwu kere ụwa dị mma. Were obi dị mma. Mmadụ niile ndị bi n'ụwa ha ga-anụ ihe, ha ga-anụ ebe Chineke na-ajụ. Ọ bụ gịnị mere ume n'ụwa jere ibe ha iro, ebe ya bụ Chukwu kere ụwa dị mma. Were obi nwayọ na-eto Chineke, were obi dị mma na-eto Chineke, were obi nwayọ na-eto Chineke nwayọ, were obi dị mma na-eto Chineke. Mmadụ niile ndị bi n'ụwa ha ga-ahụ ihe, ha ga-ahụ ihe ọma niile Chukwu kere. Ọ dịghị onye ọbụla Chukwu si na ọka ya mma, ọ dịghị onye ọbụla ka ibe ya mma. Were obi nwayọ na-eto Chineke, were obi dị mma na-eto Chineke, were obi dị mma na-eto nwayọ, were obi dị mma na-eto Chineke. Mmadụ niile ndị bi n'ụwa ha ga-ekwu eziokwu, ha ga-ekwede ihe kwuru mere eme. Ọ dịghị onye ọbụla okwu ya kacha ụtọ na ntị, omenala anyị bụ eziokwu anyị. Were obi dị mma na-eto, were obi nwayọ, were obi dị mma na-eto Chineke, were obi dị nwayọ na-eto Chineke nwayọ, were obi dị mma na-eto Chineke. Chineke na-ajụ, ọ bụ gịnị mere ume n'ụwa jere ibe ha iro, ebe ya bụ Chukwu kere ụwa dị mma. Were obi dị mma na-eto Chineke, were obi dị mma na-eto Chineke, were obi dị mma na-eto Chineke nwayọ, were obi dị mma na-eto Chineke.
Yes, indeed. You know, when we are praising Chineke, we must be kind to each other. We must be kind to others. I'm excited to bring in our keynote speaker of sorts today, Dr. Obi Onyoha Pierce. Dr. Obi, ndewo.
Oh, hello, Kao. Whoever's listening.
Yes, I don't have one of them, Kao.
Welcome.
So good to hear your voice here this morning.
Thank you. I'm
It was,
excited to be here.
we are excited to have you. And we have some questions for you because these questions are actually a result of the conversation that I had with you. And I just want you to straighten a few little things out for us, because there's so much craziness within our own culture. Individuals in our culture sometimes are quite confused and sometimes really need to be told a thing or two. So, identity and culture. Now, how do you define cultural identity in the context of African communities? What are some key aspects that you believe are essential to maintain?
Well, the thing is, we have to maintain who we are. I mean, I was reading a paper by a very eminent Igbo. I'll just stick with the Igbos for the time being, because this is pre-endemic of all within Africa, But I'll just stick to the Igbo topic right now, the Igbos of Eastern Nigeria, because that's what I was reading. I was reading a paper on this, and they were specifically trying to twin the Igbos, the Jews with the Igbo nation. Everything, about the Igbos has always been pivoted to the Jewish nation, which I really don't understand. I mean, why don't we twin it to the Inuits or the Aztecs or Incas or Palestine or anywhere else? But it's always with the Jews. I'm obsessed with this, and I'm thinking, why are we so obsessed? This obsession with, twinning ourselves, tracing our lineage or ancestry to the Jewish nation. And it finally hit me what it is. Is this our need to be associated with Christianity? You see, the thing is, our dependency on Christianity has gone to the point where, instead of looking inwards, we now look there. We have to grab them, So instead of looking at our own religion and spirituality, because we've been made to feel ashamed of who we are and what we are, what we stand for spiritually. We've been called pagans, we've been called heathens. So instead of us trying to explain who we are and what we are, what those symbols mean to the outside world, so we want to jettison that and then grab the other religion which we think is, or spirituality which we think is superior to ours, because we're ashamed of ours, and we want to appropriate that, because we deem it superior and make it our own. So you have papers where they're writing things like, now Jesus Christ is supposed to be born in Owerri now. Would you believe? They say he's born in Owerri, and from Owerri he had Owerri in a place called Jerusalem, which is Jerusalem, all in Owerri, and Jesus was called Manuelu, and all kinds of ridiculous. I mean, I'm not saying they're ridiculous, insofar as if they want to twin it, but if they want to twin it that way, they could come twin it through another route, which is the fact that mankind, Africa is the cradle of mankind. So if you want to prove that every one of us, Jesus Christ included, whoever it is, all came from Africa, that's fine, but for you to say that Christianity, because you're ashamed of your own religion, you're now saying that Christianity starts from Africa and Jesus was born there and Jerusalem is really in Owerri and all that stuff. So the whole thing is ridiculous. What makes it that, why can't you accept, you can have the concept that, yes, we probably started the whole thing about what became Christianity, in the sense that we prayed to God directly without going through a medium, which was what Jesus was. He didn't go through a medium. He was a guardian. So we can say, okay, he was the one who propagated the first praying to God without going through a medium and all that sort of thing. We can propagate that, we can propagate what religious journeys, the people who left Africa, what they took with them, which was praying to God directly without any medium, which was the African way. But to now say, take that step to say that Jesus and Mary and all these people were born there, so we can validate who we are or our beliefs,
Yes.
because we're ashamed of what we think we have.
Yes.
That to me is baffling. I really don't understand it. Totally baffling.
Yeah. Which is really when the truth is told. I think I had this conversation with Dibia. A lot of our people are mimicking their parents. They're mimicking what they were taught. So they don't, and sometimes family tends to abandon family members who refuse to toe the line. So there's really no room to think outside of the box. You see, it's almost like it's a death. It's a death, signing your death warrant if you should stray and have capacity to think. Which sometimes you go to let people know. I find myself doing that. Chineke made it possible for you to think, to ask questions. Okay, as a matter of fact, everything you do is a result of asking questions to find answers, and then we act upon the answers. But for you to lock yourself in, and unfortunately, that's why parents need to understand it's okay for these kids to think on their own. Don't make them so petrified that if they think outside of the box, then they're gonna die. Besides the health concept, there's the family death, where you don't belong anymore, and so people just don't want to ask questions. They don't want to, upset family members, and that's unfortunate, and that's why we're stuck. You find people with PhDs and all still thinking so myopically and childishly, really. It's almost like some of them are still reading, believing that the three little bears, Goldilocks and the Three Bears is real. Santa Claus is real. All those things are real because family says don't stray from that. So it doesn't matter how much they achieve. It doesn't matter what we achieve. We still have to toe the line, and that line is always trying to, be what we're not, or be validated by Eurocentrism, which is what you're saying. Now, I have this other question. A lot of why we think the way we think could be attributed to globalization. Would you agree? Has globalization affected the cultural identity of our people? What do you think?
Well, the thing is, the thing about globalization, we've taken the globalization has maybe expanded the notion that we are not as good as the other person is, because the globalization has brought into our living rooms all the other achievements and all the other progress that we think we lack. While before it was just something somebody told you, or somebody said, oh, do you know they build toilets that can wash walls or whatever. Now you can see it, that's happened. So it makes you feel even smaller. You understand? So there's nothing, you can't refute anything anymore. So if somebody comes and says, oh, do you know, you people haven't done this, or these people do this, so you can't say, oh yes, we too can do it. You can't do that because is there for it to be refuted. It can easily be refuted. It can easily be seen, and the idea, the fact too that because of globalization and what it brings, we are more open to suggestions, to seeing things and observing things that or otherwise we wouldn't have seen or observed, so we can stay in our own little world and feel good, because there's nothing for us to compare it with. And then we have this tendency to because we're hearing all those things, we have the tendency to then suppress our own achievements. You understand? Because all this other globalization is all pushing all these things down our throats. So we're not even living, we're not receiving or living or being able to see, admire and what we have achieved ourselves, you know, and so we have all these achievements, not just in religion, in politics, in history. You know, we have formidable African female warriors, like I said some time ago, you know, whose achievements and resistance to foreign powers are not lauded, are not even being talked about. You understand? Now, the globalization, if now what we can do with globalization is actually to spread the message. You understand? And not just allow other messages to just come, you know, into our world. We need to use that same vehicle and get it out, what all our own achievements. You know, when I think of, you know, Queen Amina and Moremi and Rana Valona, all these great African warriors, you understand, female warriors that we should be proud of, should be lauding, you know, but we're not doing that. You know, so instead we're always like, you know, what you're talking about, giving away our identity. We're identifying more with what people are pushing down our throats through globalization. But then again, it works the other way too, because we too can use that globalization to ram down their throats, our people, our achievements, you know, but we're not doing that. So the question is, why aren't we? Yes. Why aren't we? Why this obsession with all things that's foreign, but ashamed of ours? It brings me back again to what I used to say about that mental colonization. You understand? It will probably take generations before those things leave, because people are constantly, if you're constantly feeling that what you have is no good, your mind has been colonized, you would always pivot to what is superior on the other side, and even try to interpret and draw your own achievements to reflect the other achievement, you know, while subsuming yours.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Yes,
you know?
absolutely. And I quite unfortunately, other people take advantage of our focus, you know, on being accepted on the world stage, and they take advantage, and then we're so terribly gullible, and that needs to change. It's a conversation that needs to be had off the whatever platform we find ourselves. You know, we have to speak truth to power, even if people don't want to hear it. You know, even they don't want to hear it. Now, this question I have, thank you, Dr. Pierce. Just for 1 second. I have a question for Yudi. I believe that Dibia Chedozie has joined us. I thought I heard him join us, but he's not here. Anyway, this question is for Dibia Yudi. Yudi, Mali. Yudi, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I could hear you. Okay, now I can see you. I could hear you. Yeah. I was wondering what's going on. Okay.
Did you hear that conversation? No?
Oh yeah, I heard everything you said.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I was suddenly off the screen, so I didn't know why, but you know, but I'm back on now. So yeah, let's go. Let's do it.
Okay. The question that I have is, and it's a very important one that people need to really pay attention to. And that is why is the spirituality, how important is traditional African spirituality to our African cultures? You know, we can talk about what other people are doing to us and all of that stuff, you know, but how can our own spirituality coexist with modern beliefs and practices without us thinking that there's something wrong with it? There's one thing for you to co-opt someone else's spirituality because you want to be validated by them. It's a whole totally different thing when you think yours is totally bad. So you're not necessarily co-opting. You are just saying, I'm dumping. I don't need that. I want something new. So how do we coexist with modern beliefs and practices and at the same time keep our own? How do we do that? Because
Well,
I find a lot of people have difficulty with it.
well, I can only speak from the African perspective, which, if you really think about it, really crosses all cultures, But for me, it's really about education, right? So let me explain that. First of all, cultural originality plays a role in nation formation, all right? Nation building and nation management. One of the most important aspects of that is cultural originality. Why? Protection of, maintaining a cultural identity and heritage for future generations. You have to have that, right? Diversity. A world that is diverse, with original cultures is richer and more vibrant. I mean, if I wanted to go to Spain right now, I'm going to Spain to experience something different.
Yes.
Right? Enriches my life. And the reason why I'm going to Spain is because Spain is not like the United States. If the Spain was like the United States, why would I want to go there?
Yes.
If Africa was like London, why would a British person want to go to Africa? Right?
Yes.
We go to places to experience something, different. So we have to appreciate diversity as a common exercise, because original cultures, the diverse cultures that you see is richer, it's more vibrant, and just makes life a lot more fun, experiencing something different. And then original cultural expressions can inspire creativity and innovation, both within and outside the culture itself. I mean, you have to know where you've been to know where you are and know where you're going, right? If everything you know about your past is told to you from the perspective of, for example, set us free, let my people go, I'm your prisoner, I'm under your jackboots, what do I have to do to be freed? Because if you don't appreciate my quest for freedom, I will never get it. And number two, I'm always going to be subject to violence from you to keep me down, right? One advantage I feel that I had growing up in our household within Nohana is I learned to question everything, including science. You have to question everything. And this idea, I was listening to Dr. Obiano Hapiers, speaking earlier on, this thing about identifying with the Jews, the Igbos. It's an Igbo problem. It's not a Ghanaian problem. It's not a Cameroonian problem. It's really an Igbo problem. And one of the reasons why it's an Igbo problem, remember, before the Civil War, Igbos weren't talking about they were Jews.
No.
We were not talking about being descendants of Jews before the Civil
I don't know
War.
where all that came from.
Once the Civil War happened, and because, of course, we are Christian in the South, so it's easy for us to be influenced by biblical, scholarship, if you call it that, assuming things there are, real and things that, really apply in reality to everybody. But we, looking at the way the houses in Nigeria, the Civil War, and the way we were treated, we now started to merge that with the Jewish history, biblical history
of persecution.
Yeah, of persecution in Egypt.
Yeah.
And they started to marry those two. Remember, this idea of Jewism in Igbo people and in Africans never happened until the Civil War. And in the United States, the association of Black folks with Jewish and all that stuff that they do here in America is only because of slavery. So they see that the way the Bible explains the enslavement of Israelis in Egypt. So they look at those two suffrages, Biafra and Egypt, and then look at your own history. All of a sudden, you start associating it with the biblical narrative. You know what I'm saying? Because the truth of the matter is, in your experience, the only thing that you could relate to that biblical narrative is your own experience. And you see it in that. And because they already brought Christianism to you, jackbooted that stuff in your brain. Like you always say, like you always said, okay, Dibia, the how you say it, the best instrument or a weapon in the hands of the oppressor is the mind of the oppressed.
Yes.
That's
Once
right.
they have your mind, they have you. They will rewrite your history. They will tell you that Mungo Park discovered the Niger River, even though there were people living there before he showed up.
Mm-hmm.
I can't discover something that people were already using, relaxing, farming, fishing. Here you come in your little old boat with two black people come up and roll the thing for you, and then you show up there, you look at them, you go, well, what do you know? I just discovered you. And then you go back to Britain and tell them, guess what, folks? We just discovered some people over here, and next thing you know, they've written a book.
And then discover Victoria Falls that was already there.
It's already there. Then they destroy your institutions and tell you that Adam and Eve were the first people on earth as opposed to Ifenta and Ada. Because one thing you have to understand about religion, actual religion believes in a first principle, a first man, a first woman. Islam believes that. Hinduism believes that. They don't all look the same, but the premise is the same thing. In Igbo, in Chiism, Godianism, we believe in Ifenta and Ada. If you believe in creation and you believe that Chineke created everything and you believe in creation, then you must also believe that there's a first man and there's a first woman or vice versa. And if your religion doesn't have that, it's no religion at all. You're probably more involved with spirituality than religion. Because the etymology of religion has nothing to do with Adam and Eve, blah, 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 blah. If we follow religion for what it is, religion is simply a duty that a person feels compelled to perform in reverence to something greater than themselves. And that something is the Almighty Creator, Yahweh, Olodumare, Ubangiji, Tamuna, whatever you want to call it, God of many names. It's still the same thing. It's still the same God. But when somebody comes and then tells you that you can no longer call your ear Nte, you have to start calling your ear lips. This is now your lips. Is here. This right here is now your ear. And then you start believing that. Then they told that to your great-grandma, your great-grandpa, beat it into them, lynched it into them, raped it into them, abused all kinds of manner of hardship that our ancestors had to endure due to slavery and colonization. Next thing you know, they're giving it to you in school. Then they're giving it to you in church on Sunday. Then they give it to you at home. And in the end, nobody ever told you about what and who and what your history is. You learn nothing because you're not getting it anywhere. So we need the kind of leadership that understands this kind of behavior and the importance of cultural identity, original cultural identity, understanding cross-pollination process, knowing that you cannot throw the baby out with the bathwater. There are things in every culture that was relevant in the past that we can now explain today that is no longer relevant. So we could jettison that. There are things from cultures that we can find useful for ourselves and vice versa, and we do that. That's cross-cultural pollination, but you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. And until we develop institutions that at least attempt to reclaim our history and start teaching these young kids, like Dr. Pierce said, you know, the contributions that people of African ancestry have made to civilized behavior is going to be a difficult slog uphill.
That's right. That's right.
Please do. What he said that is rings so true. What Otraja, you just said that is so true is, and you mentioned about globalization and all that it brings, is the fact that we as a people, as Africans, you know, we wait there. You know, I'm sorry whoever's listening, but this is the truth. We wait there until the people, other countries, other foreign discoveries and interventions and research tells us what we should know about our people. And yet we should be able to teach all these things in schools. Look at in Nigeria. They don't even teach our blooming civil war. It's banned.
There you
They
go.
You know,
don't.
how can you
They don't.
learn what's happening and now the future if you don't know what your past is? You know,
Yeah.
and they nobody teaches. When I was in school, nobody taught me. I didn't know about all these warriors, female warriors. I
Yes.
didn't know.
We didn't.
All I knew was Cleopatra. That she was.
Yeah.
Again, this is one of those things I was saying about how we internalize these things and we say we now grab up to all these foreign concepts and say, oh, because we now feel that ours is inferior, we now have to appropriate somebody else, you know, that the Caucasian says is white, and we say no, it's in Africa, so it belongs to us, even though
Yeah.
we know Cleopatra was a Greek woman. You understand? She wasn't black, but we are appropriating that because, well, where else is there to go? We don't know anybody who's black, who is this thing. And yet we have warriors, real warriors who actually went and fought foreign powers. Cleopatra didn't fight any foreign powers. What Cleopatra did, she had affairs with Julius Caesar and Mark Antony, you know, and she didn't achieve anything of, she didn't fight anybody. I don't know what the obsession with her is for black people, but that's because we've been told that
Yes.
all our people are no good. So
Yes.
the only one that we can grab is the one that, well, she was in Africa, so she's black.
Yeah.
No, she ain't.
And it's important for you guys to know who is sharing this with you. Dr. Obi Pierce is an anthropologist. She has a PhD in anthropology. So what she's saying is based on research, serious research, and we need to pay attention. And that's true, because I cannot tell you how many times people tell me, well, you know, Egypt is Egypt with that, you know.
Oh, yeah. That's
Yeah.
another.
Trying to colonize somebody else's history.
Yeah, to colonize someone else's, you know. And if we can just, I had the opportunity to be a speaker at the international interdenominational conference 2 days ago, I believe it was, and I was speaking about our spirituality, Theism, and I reminded them that it was, if they look it up, they can see that Gordianism went to the UN and redefined civilization and all that kind of stuff. You know, I was just throwing everything in there to let them know about who we are. I talked about Ahaim, the Revelator, and all that sort of thing. So this Jewish woman, she says, well, oh, you just introduced something new to me. I didn't know about this. I didn't know about African spirituality. What? What? I mean, this is new to you. We don't talk about our spirituality.
Element to every human creature. You know, I don't understand why she would say, you know, she didn't know Africans had to. What?
Yeah. She was very, very surprised.
I don't even know what to say to that.
But she wasn't being mean.
No. I know she wasn't.
She was just ill-informed.
Yeah.
Ill-informed.
Libya Che Dozier is there somewhere. He's asking me to let him in, but I don't know how to do that. I don't know where he's at.
Let me. I'm out here in the universe somewhere.
But let me just what is it? Why do you think at this moment in time there's so much going on? And if Chineke, with different names, if Chineke is our source of inspiration, but we don't go to that source of inspiration as the ancestors did, but we seek someone else's source of inspiration, what exactly is that saying to future generations of African people? What are we saying? Because let's be honest, it's the adults who are propagating all of these things, right?
Yeah.
And the little ones are watching. You can't blame them when they become adults and they start buying into all of that. So why, if everybody believes that their God is their source of inspiration, how do we convince our own people and let them understand the importance of Doing the same thing. Doing the same thing doesn't mean that you drop your own thing and then adopt someone else's. Doing the same thing is adopting the same philosophy. From me to God, there's no distance. My God is good enough. My source of inspiration comes from my culture, and it's okay. But we don't do that. We don't do that. I have events that I refuse to go to because for me, it just drains from my spirit. It just doesn't feel right to go there and listen to all these things that I know for a fact. It's not based on fact. It's based on a lot of mythology, other people's mythology. So anyway, the point I'm trying to make is, how do we convince our people that that source of inspiration must come from our own, not from outside? Now, that's not to say that the world is not, the world is open for anything. We can take information from everywhere, but you add to your repertoire. That's the thing. Add to what you've got. Don't throw away what you've got, because ultimately our young people, as they get older, they start thinking that, well, they can't depend on what we have. They have to seek elsewhere. So that is the question I have, and Dibia Childers is here. Dibia, how are you? Welcome.
Sorry, the internet is superb here. You understand what I mean?
Yeah.
So the question I'm asking is, how do we let our people know that it's really important at this time with things, it seems like other countries are now coming together, right, to embrace who they are, because that's important. That's how you can fight any battle, is to do so together, to have a common way of thinking, some kind of commonality that's not based on other people's way of life and way of thinking. We have to have something. So Dibia Chiedozie, the question I have for you is, why is it so critical right now for us to embrace all that we are? And how do we go about doing that? How do we convince people to do so, besides just telling them? What else can we do?
Well, we've been talking and telling, and people have been doing the listening.
Mm-hmm.
But that our people say, "Ahon kanti ano." That is to say, experience is the best teacher. Now, the thing there is that Africans don't know the antics of world politics.
Yes.
That the black man should never discover who she or he is. The black woman should never discover who she is. The black man should never discover who he is. So it's like the case of someone who is a princess, a prince, but do not know of it. And so it's following after other people. And the more you follow other people, the more you go further away from your own source. And if you follow other people, all you can end up is being a slave, because all that you're enshrined with is slave mentality. You may end up being rich, but you will not have collective spirit. And if you don't have the collective spirit, when the chips are down, you discover you're alone. Just like the leopard in the forest is very brave, hunts alone, and lives in the midst of the jungle where it can maneuver within the trees. The speed with which it runs on the ground is the speed with which it climbs the trees, even when it carries the prey in its mouth. But what about when the leopard is deceived away from the forest and is in the desert, the wilderness, where there are no trees, or when hunters decide to hunt after the leopard, and these hunters themselves know the antics of the leopard is done for. And so, as an individual, you can never monster force when people come for you. But as a group, you will be able to survive, because before a couple of us will go down, the remaining will regroup and make sure that their civilization is intact. And so that's why our forefathers said, "Igwebike, mbikota bondo, mbishashi boung," living together, communing together, relating together is existence. That's life. And then not understanding ourselves, having a common identity, everybody going individually, that's death. Of course, they knew what they meant by that. So today, I think that the talk has gone beyond, the issue has gone beyond talking. It is such that experience will teach us. But I do hope we'll learn, because not everybody at this time will have that self-realization. And even those, I've met those who have the self-realization, they only do the talking. They don't have the courage. So a lot of us lack the courage. And when you tell them, they say, how will they start? And so some just say, just leave me the way I am. But even at that, if your life is done, what about your children? What about your children? So begin to correct the mistake of the past in the future by making sure you educate your children, even about who they are. Take them home. Tell them about their ancestors. Let them practice. Let them know the ancestors. Even though it will begin by using foreign language. Let them know once they discover their personality, they are the ones who will tell you, Daddy, let's go home.
Yes.
So they are the ones who do that. So today we find that some very funny theories are being used to replace theories like alienation, self-retrieval, a strange African personality, neo-colonization, globalization. Now they are bringing in theories like Afropolitanism. That is to say, Africans who have settled down within the confines of other cultures, and Africans with mixed identity, confused, not even mixed, confused identity. And so you have people like Appiah who argued, I think he started that argument, the Ghanaian scholar in America, and trying to say the African is a universal personality. So, and then the European, Europe and America, the West, are putting money into propagating that particular concept. So if you go to conferences sponsored by European countries like ACAS and all, if you talk about alienation, nobody's going to give you a fund to come and talk about that. If you talk about neocolonialism, they don't put their money to that anymore. So they are putting their money into Afropolitanism. And our scholars are jumping up and down. Even when you tell them, they are more concerned about the few dollars they be paid. All that they pay them formally is maybe 100 euros per day. And they go there, they squeeze themselves, they eat like slaves. Because I've been there once, eat like slaves. Make sure you stuff yourself in the morning and depend on the meal you are given, whether you like it or not, so that you can save some few dollars. And how much dollars can you save at the end of the day? Not more than $300 to $500 at most. By the time you come here, within 1 week, it's gone. You're back to square one. So you're waiting for the next one. So that's what we are busy doing here. So the odds are really against us. And so what we can do for now is to also always talk to the nucleus that believe and see the danger and wants to and have the courage to address the danger. And so, because you don't need the whole people to liberate a civilization, you only need the nucleus, and that's what I call the cheese movement. The nucleus, those fewest among us who realize what it is, and then we have to keep talking about it amongst us, and hopefully others we will find others who are in dilemma, looking for a way to address the dilemma on ground. And once we find such people, we welcome them, and then we keep talking to our children. And hopefully one of the things that the Zionists did when they were in this kind of situation was to form a group of the people they call Zionists, who are different from Jews. The Zionists were the nucleus of the Jewish movement. And so one thing they did, apart from talking to themselves, was to ensure that their children were well educated, and their children that are well educated married amongst themselves, so that consciousness continues. So yes, best we can do now is make sure that the nucleus, and that nucleus, we keep it alive. And our children who understand what it is, they intermarry. And they keep consciousness growing and expanding. That's what the Zionists did. So, because if we don't find a way of keeping the nucleus alive and making sure the nucleus keeps expanding, then we face the danger of extinction. Then all we're going to have in highest in the next 20, 30 years, 50 years is too far away, will be Africans who are Black, who speak their languages, but they are purely foreigners in their land. I'm sorry to say, but the future is not too blissful for us.
Yeah, indeed it's not. Thank you. It's not.
Sorry.
Go ahead, please.
No, I was just saying, taking from what Dr. Chidozie was saying is, the concept that we were talking about, which was, how can we get together and find a commonality spiritually? This is where Gordianism comes in. That's the same thing Gordianism is saying, which is whatever your medium is okay. You understand? Eradicate hate. Find a common spirituality. So when you have that, because what is causing all these things, causing even the colonization of the mind, is all this concept of superiority, both politically. In fact, it started with spiritual, so-called superiority. So if we are going to find if we're going to be able to work together, if we're going to be able to come together as a people, as a human race, is to eradicate all this hate that we have between us spiritually. You understand? To know, number one, if you can't try to love somebody else, come into Gordianism, and if you come into Gordianism, you're going to find that what we preach is to eradicate hate amongst people. You understand? So that we find a commonality, that we can worship God together without the competition of mediums. We go through this medium, that medium, that medium, that medium. That's what I think. I think the answer to it, is come to Gordianism. There we eradicate hate. We appreciate whatever medium that you go through without hate.
Yes, and it's important. So anybody who's listening, Gordianism is Chiism, so that we know that we're talking about the same organization. I have another question here, and this is for Dibia Udi. Udi, what is the role of education in helping our people understand, or is education, and when we're talking about education, what kind of education is needed here? Because there are a lot of educated, if I may use that expression, people who don't seem to get it. So what kind of education are they going to need? You can keep telling them the same thing over and over and over, but instead of it going in the head, it turns some people off. So what kind of education is going to be necessary?
Well, first of all, it has to be a culturally centered education. Okay. In Bicheng, in our village, what was the course of induction? That's what education is. It's a course of induction. What was the course of induction in my village? It was called Ipwabala. It's a rites of passage. You will find out even in Judaism, they have a rites of passage. It's called the Bar Mitzvah. And when you get to a certain age, you have to go through that rites of passage. That's indoctrination. You have to be indoctrinated into a system. Right now, maybe in the 60s and earlier on, before our Civil War and Kwame Nkrumah and the Julius Nyerere all, went away. The only leader right now that I see in Africa with a level of Pan-African mindset is Burkina Faso president, and perhaps the president of Rwanda, right? Dibia Chidozie talked about courage. We don't have that. Everybody's scared. The boogeyman. You say the wrong thing, your family may disown you. They may look at you funny in school. You may not be able to run for political office and win anything because you're not a Christian or you're a Muslim. And last time I checked, Jesus is not from Ghana or from my village, and Mohammed is not from Cameroon or Senegal. Never did anything for us. Not part of our history. Nowhere in African history do those two people show up. We have to have shows like this. We have to keep talking about it in different platforms. We have to have institutional backing. We have to have organizations that are financially powerful, that see and think the way we do. How that happens, I don't know. How we're going to put that together, I don't know. It may start from this conversation. It may not be in our lifetime, but we're going to need powerful institutional backings. The Jews have that. Europeans have it with their Catholic Church and their, theology of Christianism. Japan is Shinto, China is Buddhism, Confucianism, Taoism. It's all culturally based one way or the other. Hinduism is Indian. When the interest of the Arabs is at stake, they rally around Islam. When the interest of the European is at stake, they rally around Christianism. The Japanese rally around Shintoism. The Indian rallies around Hinduism, so on and so forth. What do we rally around when the interest of the African is threatened globally or in the motherland? We rally around the same theologies that justified our enslavement in the first place. The greatest tool in the hands of the oppressor is the mind of the oppressed.
All day long.
Only when somebody's got your mind that in your moment of national need, of reaffirmation, you rally behind the person who's got their boots on your throat.
That's right.
Stockholm syndrome is a result of it. Oh yeah, he took us hostage, but at least he gave us pizza for lunch, so he can't be a bad person. But you're a hostage. You forget the fact that you've been kidnapped. And you're extolling your kidnapper for giving you a cheeseburger. And forget that you've been kidnapped. That's what we're doing. You gave me a bowl of okra soup, even though they got a gun in my neck, but at least it was okra soup, not a wussy. And you start judging the person who is just putting all manner of suffering on you as your hero, as the ideology that is going to get you out of what they put you in the first place. You are now confused. We need to unify. Dr. Pierce said something about that, mentioned it in, when she was speaking. There are 3 or 4 ways that you can unify people, but if you could do one of them, you're batting 1,000. If you do all 4, Lord have mercy. You take over the world just like the Jews are right now. Christianism is based on Abrahamic religion. It's Jewish. So is Islam. And those are the 3 major world religions controlling everything.
That's right.
All secret organizations belongs to Abrahamic religions, from the Freemasons to the Illuminati to whoever. They all fly that flag. But to unite people of African ancestry, because you have to have unity to begin this process, and the unity may start with all the conversations that we're having right now, but you have to be able to have a common language, which does not exist. And we understand that Nigeria alone has over 400 different languages that is spoken over there, just in Nigeria alone. So diversity rules in Africa big time. You can also unite a people if you have a common cultural calendar. The Chinese celebrate their culture using the Chinese calendar. The Arabs celebrate their Arabic, spiritual culture with the Islamic calendar. Africa needs one that all African people can look upon this calendar as a cultural expression of what they have in common with one another. You could do that. You could have a common language. You can also have a common religion. Islam unifies the Arab world. You could have that. But we don't have any one of these things. We don't practice any one of those things as something that has the potential of unifying people of African ancestry under one common cultural focus. You can't unify a people when I'm talking about somebody over here, this person talking about somebody over here, somebody's got a jackboot on your neck, but we don't have anything that brings us together as one to fight this oppression that's been going on for over 400 years and was even more prevalent in the Arab world before the European came to our shores with the Bible in tow. The Arabs had already sold over 40 million Africans into slavery before the European even started. Love. Unity. I'm just talking about we need to find a way to unify people of African ancestry. We're all over the world, Britain, South America, the Caribbean, in Africa, Asia. We're all suffering the same thing. The white man or the European or anybody with any kind of racist tendency does not see a black person and ask you, are you from Jamaica? Are you from Ghana? They just see a black person. They see you for whatever they think that black people are, regardless of where you are located on this planet. We need to unify.
Thank you. Unity. You know, something that Akachi had said, and I always appreciate her input. We should have an interfaith dialogue with African churches, African organizations. We tend to do interfaith with everybody, okay? So that the discussion is always helter-skelter, if I may use that expression.
The ultra.
Yeah, the ultra. August of this year, we're having the International Conference of African Traditional Religions because this is so important. It is so important that we are able to, because they're not going to come to us. We have to come to them. You know, we have to bring them together. I just want to read you something Akachi said here, and I do agree with her. They are not going to come to you. You have to go to them or host something that will bring them all together, bring us all together. Do you understand? The Europeans, the churches, they always have this interfaith gatherings, all right, of Europeans, all right? So, but you see, they're already set in their ways and they understand who they are. So they're not coming together to give up anything, but to say, okay, this is who we are, right? Hear me, I hear you, all right? Well, Africans don't do that. At this point, we don't. It's not hear me, I hear you. It's my way or the highway. That is our mindset, okay?
Exactly.
That's our conditioning, my way or the highway. So if we have the ultra in October, then we are able to let our people know, yes, there's diversity even in African spirituality, but we're still one. We don't hate ourselves. We don't, and that's what we're doing. We find ourselves, you know, I'm Muslim, I'm Santeria, I'm this, I'm that, you know, and then we just can't seem to get along. Okay, so that is a philosophy. This philosophy, everybody has the right to go to God the way they understand best without quarrels. We as Africans have to come together with our own conference to preach just that. We may have differences as different tribes, but we are still one we're all still under one creator with different names. Different names. You know, that's the one thing that is not happening with us, with African people.
Yeah,
you know.
I totally agree.
They go to international programs of other people. They don't have one of their own dedicated to them. So Akachi, thank you. That's what Ultra is about.
Can I say something real quick?
Yeah, okay. Judy, you say what you have to say, then Adoha will take over.
Okay, yeah, just real quickly, just to buttress what you were just saying and to kind of add a little bit of clarity to what Akachi is thinking. In 1977, there was a an attempt to bring people of African ancestry together under a common cultural focus to celebrate our culture and our history. It's called Festac, right? That was a major attempt. It was a major attempt to focus on African history, African music, African culture, African science. Everything about people of African ancestry was showcased through that period of time. Festac. Okay, that was the second attempt. Before that, there was another one in the 60s in Chicago. The first World Festival of Arts and Culture was in the United States. The second one was in Nigeria. But after that, that was pretty much it. Nothing else. But I do remember during Festac, Stevie Wonder, everybody, Isaac Hayes, Miriam Makeba, you name it, everybody was in Nigeria for like what? 3 weeks?
That's for cultural celebration. We're talking about mainly strictly spiritual.
Yeah, that's the one. I'm trying to lead up to it right quick. I'm just giving an example. Then spiritually, the UTRA, Organization of Traditional Religions of Africa, was formed in Nigeria by Ahai and his cohorts. That was exactly what it was formed to address. And of course, we got a conference coming, in August here in the United States. So we just need to have those kinds of exercises and then actually support it if we do believe that we need to do something, regarding the condition of people of African ancestry globally. We have to agree. And just last thing I'm going to say, a lot of us know and understand the challenges that we face as people of African ancestry. That we suffer from the same thing that the people that we talk about suffer from. Too many kings and no subject. Everybody want to be king, even though we agree that we got to do something. But we don't want somebody else to take the lead, so we end up in this quagmire of ideas and not going anywhere with it. So I think that's the first thing we have to solve when we agree that a king needs to have somebody to rule. We all can be kings.
Yes.
All
right. Dr. Pierce, you have something you want to say?
Yeah, no, what I was going to say is that we seem to we can come together when it comes to just cultural things, but when it comes to spiritual things, I mean, it just seems almost an impossible thing, even within Nigeria, during the time mom's funeral, I went to a Methodist priest. He was the high Methodist priest somewhere there, and I said, if they can come, because I wanted, like Dad did, my father did, different denominations to be at the funeral to offer prayers. And he didn't want to know the fact. He said, he couldn't pray for her because she was not a Methodist. Huh? So where is all this great God's love and all these things that we show in the Bible? And I'm saying, you're not coming, you don't want to come because she's not a Methodist? So when it comes, that's just one example of all that. I went to an Anglican, no, she's not a Christian, so we can't, so when it comes, but if I had said, can you come because we're having a cultural dance that every place is recognized, they'll be there. You understand? But because it was something spiritual, they don't want to mix. They don't want to mix. We have to all be separate. So I don't know how, even when you get them together and when they come, whatever, be aware that what they will come with won't be, let's pray together. It's going to show you, that to convert you. You understand? They're coming there to convert you. They're not coming because, let's pray together and I believe in your thing and good luck with your thing and good luck the way I pray. We accept each other and all that like we have in our religion. But no, they will come to want to convert you to their way of thinking. I've experienced this personally, so it's not. I'm not just talking because as an abstract thing, you know, they actually want to convert you, but I'm there so we can worship together with your way of worshiping,
That's
my way
right.
of worshiping, but
That's right.
to the same God.
That's
You know,
right.
but no, you know, so I don't know how, if my father managed it, you know, when he had this was it in 1962 it was, you know, when the Ghanaian religion got together, all the different denominations in Nigeria, in Enugu, you know, and they all prayed together. How he did it, I don't know. But then it wasn't about, it was just about recognition that we all pray to God. We all pray to God, but there was nothing like coming together, because after that, it never happened again. You know? Like
So
you
what-
said, it never happened again, you know? So
I think that we have, thank you, Dr. Pierce. I think that we have really, truly, as a people, embraced the whole notion of it has to be my way. Okay, it has to be my way.
yeah.
There's no room for anything. So even if we come together, they were still trying to change somebody's mind. I went to somebody. I was invited to come to a service, and I did. And usually when I do such a thing, and I go to several of them, I go, and whatever it is you believe, I still believe in what I believe, you know, but I also understand that you have the right to believe in what you do.
What you believe.
So I came to support you, came to your event to support you. And that's all there is to know. We are together, we're worshiping, we're talking about one God, and that's it. We're a family, we're an African family. We need to see that is the most critical part of spirituality. It's not who you believe in, it's that whatever you believe in draws us together, doesn't separate us, you see. But this person hounded me when am I going to go join the church? And I said, what is the purpose of joining your church? Do you understand? That means I have to leave what I'm doing. I'm not trying to leave. I'm not trying to leave who I am. See, when I leave my African spirituality, I leave who I am. My values, my African values is wrapped around my spiritual way of life. So I cannot leave that to come and be with you, no matter how flamboyant your environment is. Do you understand? So I can come to service, and I would like you to accept that. When we come together, we're coming together to unite as one, in spite of our diversity. But if you want to pull me away from mine, you see what I'm saying? That's where you have a problem, because that's pattern to Eurocentrism. Africans never quarreled over religion. Let us remember that.
No, never did.
Yeah, they never did. When they came together. As a matter of fact, I will go to your shrine and pray.
That's right.
And pour libations at your shrine.
That's right.
You know, I didn't come there to say, your shrine is not good. Your shrine is not good. You know, so we don't, you know, I don't want to be a part of that. So African spirituality is about coming together. We are all brothers and sisters. Okay, because the truth of the matter is we have diversity. We are Igbo, we're Yoruba, we're Hausa, we're Efik, we're Ghanaian, we're all of that. And being from all those different places comes with its own cultural identity. So you're not going to ask anybody to abandon theirs. But at the same time, we have to say to ourselves, okay, under what grounds can we, in spite of these diversities, see ourselves as one and work towards a goal? And that goal is to build up our African nations, you know, without hating who we are, without trying to drag somebody down, without trying to tell somebody your way is wrong. You know, this is what you find on the other side. You know, if you're not Baptist, you're not good enough. If you're not Anglican, you're not good enough. If you're not, you know, all of that. And it always seems to, yes, we say, you know, like the program that I went to. Okay, it was a lot of talk about unity and all that stuff, you know. But if you start speaking too much about something that's odd, right? Immediately you have to be reminded what the Lord said. You have to be reminded what Allah said, all of that kind of stuff. And yeah, Allah said that, Jesus said that. Okay, it's fine. But this is what Chineke said to me, to my ancestors. And that's good enough. That's good enough for me to want to join you in camaraderie, spiritual camaraderie. But Dibia Chedozie, I don't know if I quite made myself clear. The point I'm trying to make is that we don't have that sense of unity. You know, maybe has it been because we have gotten so used to being a part of the other that we've forgotten that part of who we are, unity?
Yeah.
What do
Yes.
the concept, all of that?
Sure. You said a lot. I think that's part of it, but we should not forget where our problem began. Because if you do not know where the rain began to beat you, you will not know how to get out of the rain. We should realize that our problem today started with first balkanization, then two, colonization. And then what do these two mean? They mean the destruction of the structure of the African spirituality, which is what? The African ethnicity. We cannot do away with ethnicity because, yes, we are trying to build Pan-Africanism on African spirituality. That is good. But you cannot have upstairs if you don't have downstairs. You can't have the sky if you don't have the down. And so one of the things that Okedibia spoke about is that we don't fight over religion. Yes, we don't fight over religion. Why? Because of the principle of complementarity. And then this principle of complementarity says that whatever is has a head and a tail. And this head and tail are interrelated. And so for us, like the conference when I went to Germany and they were talking about African quoting Placid temples, African ontologies, hierarchical. It's hierarchical. So I had to tell hierarchical is just one strand of African spirituality. There is a hierarchical dimension, there is a horizontal dimension, there's a cyclical dimension, there's a tripod. However, each of these dimensions is both like the hierarchical is hierarchical descending, deductive, and hierarchical ascending, inductive. So it is not always one way. And that's the complementarity. So that whatever comes down also has a relationality upwards. That way there's an intermingling, an interfusion. The horizontal is such that the sun moves from the east and sets in the west and goes again back to the east only to rise again and set in the west. So you see that the horizontal, it's always east-west highway interconnection. It's not one way. And then the cyclical ties everything together. Then the tripod divides the cyclical into 3 equal parts that are rolled into one. So that our past, using Aristotle's analysis, talks about the past is a huge chasing gun. The future has not come. It's just what we expect. What we have is the present is tiny. That does not stand for African spirituality because our worldview is cyclical. The past rules into the future rules into the present. And so C.S. Momo, one of those who taught me African metaphysics, he calls it, he says it's a philosophy of the new past and the old future. Because the past is rolling to the future is rolling to the present is rolling into the past. And the present is where the actualization is. So in the present day, as we speak, the past and the future are present. They are tied together in the present. And why is it so? Because of teleology. And once there's teleology, there's transcendence. As we are talking today, we are talking in the present, but we are talking with the past and the future sandwiched in the present, trying to address the problem of the past in the present, in the future, so that the future such will not occur. Now, all these analyses of mine, what does it boil down to? As we talk about interrelationship among the different African spirituality, we must not forget ethnicity. Because if we lose ethnicity, there will be no foundation for us to stand. It is in the ethnicities that the cultures belong, and the cultures house the different African spiritualities. And so, because the European that we talk about, if you look at them, they are the war today in Europe. Why is Europe against Russia? They are after their individual culture. They want Ukraine to have its own individuality. Yet, as Europeans, they collude when it comes to when something affects them. They know how to come together. So it is still the same fight of identity that is going on. Then you look at the waters. Every water has its own individuality, yet it links with other waters. And so without us addressing the problem of ethnicity in Africa, we will have is African spirituality floating in the air. So for me, using the principle of complementarity, as we are talking about African spirituality, we must also know that whatever we do in the diaspora about African spirituality, getting into intermingling and creating a kind of syncretism that was the heart of African spirituality in traditional times. That is why the different, in the household, you can have the wife may hold on to maybe a river deity, while the husband holds to a male deity, and the children are allowed to practice the two. And then you find within a particular village, there are clans. Each clan has its own deity, and when they are celebrating, all other clans join with them. And that way there's interfusion. Yes, we need that interfusion, but we should not forget that in our traditional setting, the interfusion was genuine in the sense that everybody was into African spirituality. To have been taken away out of it. So we are like fish looking for their own appropriate water. And so if we are intermingling, I've had that problem with the Indians. I thought they were better, but I saw they have the same agenda. First came the Brahma Kumaris. They even went to the extent of getting diabolical. You know, I was invited, it's here in Lupeju. I was invited, immediately I entered into the compound. It's as if somebody was holding me by the shoulder and holding my under, wants to turn me head upside down. So I had to stand and allow my aura to envelop the whole place. When the turbulence, spiritual turbulence has settled, and I saw that my aura has enveloped the place, I now walked in. The oldest woman then, that was about 10 years ago, said, "Oh, he who knows where he's going, you're welcome." She gave me a special ribbon. Right there in their compound, I dominated him. Then they now sent the other woman the child. They said they made a special sweet, and the sweet, they made it with love. I said, okay, give it to me. What the woman did was, as I was talking, choked it into my mouth so that it can touch my saliva. That's what I wanted. And so what I experienced was in the night, my scrotus was being licked by an ancient snake. But I calculated, knowing the law of spirituality, I calculated at what interval. So I conjured an electron and camouflaged it. And so when it's come, I put it there. It shocked it, so it left. The second day it came, so I took it on a journey of space and discovered it got to maybe 500 stopped. I went over 15,000 then, and I stopped. I said, but why is this thing not moving? I said, okay, 5,000 is here, and I have gone beyond 15,000. I'm going more. And I gave them a stern warning. If you dare me again, I will crush all of you. 3 days later, I drove into the faculty, and as I came down from my car to go and greet them, the woman and the man that they come to campus to convert people, they turned the other way. I was hurrying to meet them, and they were hurrying to leave me. So we are facing all of this. But if you look at every other spirituality, they are, by the law of complementarity, they are there in the US, they are there in the West, promoting Chinese culture, promoting Indian culture, promoting Korean culture. But back home too, They are well seated. They have their country, and they are well structured, such that the different enclaves of the Indian spirituality are represented. And all of them go out. Brahma Kumaris, even the Hare Krishna, just 2 years ago, Hare Krishna had their brush with them. I invited them to come and teach Indian philosophy of mind. What they came to do was proselytizing, asking the children to donate, bringing their books. They turned it to crusade. And it didn't stop there. They started thinking they could convert me. They now brought one of their teachers in India. What does he teach? Krishna's doctrine. And all it came, took aeroplane flight for United States to come to Nigeria, to my office, was that this book, Bhagavad Gita, has a lot of wisdom. I should start teaching. I didn't even reply them. I walked them out. I haven't finished teaching my own. That you want me to join? They will support me. How much dollar would they give me that I will sell my? So we have that. But the point I'm making is that you could see that they are teaching their doctrine all over the West, yet India is intact. So the first thing they did was to make sure there is a country that belongs to Indians. The Jews solved the problem. Today, Judaism that doesn't used to, just like our own traditional religion, Judaism does not preach. But today, Judaism all over the world. But the first thing that Jews solved was to make sure there's a state of Israel. Now, the first thing we mustn't make that mistake. African spirituality was found in the ground, rooted.
Yes.
That problem of balkanization in Africa, we must solve it. We must keep pushing for the national question, because African spirituality cannot be separated from African culture, cannot be separated from African politics, African economy. It is a foundation of our economy, of everything we do. We must keep pushing for the national question.
Yes.
Countries handed over to us, and the baton was handed by those who were trained by the colonialists. So it's a question of the one-eyed man that is the king in the land of the blind. So that problem must be solved. We can't have a holistic Nigeria. Nigeria must be well structured. All right? It must be well structured so that each ethnic group will have its own autonomy and control its affairs, use its language. Once that happens, then African spirituality will be well seated. Then it will surprise you that all these discrepancies and diversities will simmer down. Because for now, we're like orphans, we're looking backwards. And so, but once that problem is solved, the confidence will return. Sitting within our little enclaves of our ethnicity, we will fight that our spirituality must be the center core of our governance. Now, you cannot come to Igbo land and be use Christianity. We will not allow that. You cannot go to Yoruba land and use Christianity or Islam. We will not allow that, because the Yorubas have solved one problem. The problem they have solved is that they have modified the Ogboni into what they call reformed Ogboni fraternity. It is the foundation of everything the Yorubas do. All the Yoruba pastors belong in the Ogboni. All the Yorubas imam belong in the Ogboni. And whatever they discuss in the Ogboni is what they practice in the church. So if you look at all the churches in Nigeria today owned by Yorubas, you will not see any non-Yoruba that is a pastor. They are only taking money from them. So that's the thing there. So I just want us to know that and know it very well. We cannot discuss African spirituality without addressing the problem of balkanization and colonization. So that within the ethnicity, African spirituality will sit. And from the ethnicity, the ethnic groups naturally will begin to connect. As the ethnic groups intercross, African spirituality will begin to intercross.
Yes, that's right. Thank you so very much. I don't have, Dr. Pierce has just advised me that she has a very few minutes because she has an appointment. So she's going to leave us with a few words. Adonha, please share your closing thoughts. Not with us now. I don't know. I haven't removed her, but something that makes African spirituality very unique. And thank you so very much, Dibia Chiedozie. What makes African spirituality extremely unique is if we practice it, we have our own individual cultural identities that we apply to our spirituality. But when we look at African spirituality at its core, it's nature-based. And because it's nature-based, there's really no argument. It's not based on mythology and all of that. It's based, we add a little mythology, every religion does that. But the core principles that guide African spirituality is nature. You honor nature. By honoring nature, we're honoring God, that sort of thing. We respect nature. And unfortunately, most of us have moved away from that. So we now find this God, all with a son and a daughter and a spirit and whatever all of those things are, and they're hung up somewhere. And you have to bow and crawl to honor these mythical figures. As opposed to what we Africans believe, and that is to honor our nature, honor nature. I think, where's Yudi? I have a question for Yudi. I have a question for Dr. Pierre. She's not there. So I want to kind of speak on something that Akachi said. This is very important. And I think that's one of the things that kind of tear us apart, because my sisterhood to you and my brotherhood to you depends on if you are we believe the same religion, right? I can't have a friend outside of that. And if that friend is not is not Christian, then, we have to put that person at arm's length until we can bring them in. You see, so a Christian sisterhood and brotherhood supersedes African unity. It's not about our unity. It's about our individual religious unity. Okay, so you're my sister if you're Christian. If you're not my sister, you're outside the boundaries, and I can't really get close to you, or I may even get mad at you. Now, please, it's important to understand, I'm not putting down Christians. That's not the point. All right, I'm just stating a fact. This is the way most of them are. Yes, they are going to do work. They're going to do work in the society from their Christian perch. They're not going to, some people will not collaborate with someone outside of that faith to do work, even though the person outside of that faith, right, has the same values, wants to do to help humanity. But because they're doing it from their perch in the world, they're not good enough. You do those things if you're from where I'm at. We share the same God and all. But one of the things that Dibia Chiedozie, since you and I are the ones here now, one of the things
you got me out.
I didn't get you out. You're on audio only, so you need to change that.
Oh,
that's why because I can't
bring him back in.
Answer. I can't bring him. There we go.
Oh, I don't know what happened.
You were on audio like
he's in your charger. He has gone to charger. So he just came back.
Yeah. It's not bad. So this is the point we're trying to make. And Dibia Yudi, you can join in. I think this is what creates this unity when all is said and done, and that is, my friends must have the same religion as me. If not, I'm not going to be bothered with them. You see, that's bad. I have to say that's bad, because that goes against everything we say that the divine is. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. Do unto others as you like to. If that's the case, why do you hate me because I'm not like you? You've decided that because I'm not, I don't have the same religious faith as you do, then you've decided that you can't love me because I'm not your neighbor anymore. I'm not your neighbor because I don't believe in what you believe in, you know. So I think that Akachi is right. You know, I'm Christian first and I'm Muslim first. That supersedes the brotherhood and sisterhood that we should be developing. We should see each other first before the religion. Let's remember that religion, when all is said and done, is just it serves the purpose of something we do to serve God. Okay, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be one way for us to relate to each other. You know, we can serve God. That's what we set up all the religions for. But to serve each other, we have to relate to each other, not based on that oneness. Okay. But now this UD says something all the time, and that is we have to come under an umbrella. And some people say to me, well, does that mean that you have to be a chaist for you to be accepted? That's not the point we're making. The point we're making is chiism is an umbrella under which we can all come and express our diversity, because we embrace the diversity, right? You take that away. Am I right or wrong?
I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, even in Christianism, there's diversity in it. You got Catholics, you got the Presbyterian, you got Cherubim and Seraphim, you got all kinds of, all of them reading the Bible, right?
Yeah.
All of them believing in Jesus Christ is the Son of God, but, you know, there's diversity in that. It doesn't mean that if you come from the same religion that you don't have diverse views within that religion. I mean, in Islam, you have the Sunni, they're Muslims. Then you have the Shia, they're Muslims too. And I think you have another offshoot. But all of them reading the Quran, different versions of it, telling the story a little differently, but it's still the same thing. Muhammad is still the center of Islam. So is Allah, right? In Igbo spirituality, you know, we have commonalities, but I have certain processes that I go through in that Ohonfia area that is different from what somebody goes through in Onisha. But one thing we have in common is we both pour libations, we both, you know, break cola. We believe in Chineke. Chukwu is the same thing. Now, how Chineke manifests itself is different. You know, you have the ordinary people that think that is Henry and all that stuff. You know, I mean, in the end, it sounds more like people trying to affirm or justify their worth by standards that are a little bit that they can relate to Jewish culture. By telling me all these heavenly things fell down and all that. When I look at the creation from my own chaism, it's totally different. In Ordinary, there's no first man, there's no first woman. All right, do your research. But then it doesn't have that. There's Henry. That's where the whole thing starts and ends. There's no first man, there's no first woman. Most major theologies believe in the first principle. And that first principle begins with creation, then the first man and first woman. That's just the way it's worked. Now, whether it's fantasy, mythology, call it what you want. I mean, scientifically, you could say we evolved from amphibians and ended up on land. Yeah, you could make those explanations. But prior to those scientific discoveries, we believed in Ifenta and believed in Adha, first man, first woman. Most religious beliefs happened because we couldn't explain what is going on in our world today. And since we had no control over it, we developed processes and gods and creations and all that stuff. Every culture does it. It's all myth. There's no shame in what we do. Our history, based on our geography and our location, is responsible for the culture and religion that manifests out of that. That's the way it works. All primordial religions are nature-centered, all the way from paganism to chiism. They're all nature-centered. They all find something in nature that they give reverence to because they have no control over it. The air we breathe, the food we eat, all that stuff is the reason why you have religion, why religion became automatic in us to give thanks to something greater than yourself, because you understand that you are not responsible for creation of the life-sustaining forces around you that keep you alive, the water you drink, the air you breathe, all that good stuff. That's why it's nature-centered.
Mm-hmm.
Then the Abrahamic religions came and took away that natural aspect that all world religions follow and hung it on an individual. the last messenger, the only son. And then those people that now believe that they cannot be your friends or do business with you because you do not profess the same theology that they do, have that attitude because in their theology, which is Abrahamic, for the most part, believe that only if you accept a certain part of that doctrine can you be blessed or go to heaven when you die and all that. You have to accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior. And only if you do that, bam, any association with anything outside of that is sinful. Even in the Old Testament, what did God say? Thou shalt have no other gods before me. They take that to heart. They look at their relationship outside of the way we look at it as Africans, where we believe that God is not some old man up there in the sky. We are not separate from Chineke. Madubuchi Bea, you're like Chineke to your fellow human being because most, if not all, of God's blessings flow through somebody. You pray for something, there's always going to be somebody somewhere. If those prayers are answered, it is because of the intervention of a human being after you prayed to Chineke. Yeah. From me to Chineke, there's no distance. The Chineke you seek is in you. If they have that attitude, if they felt that Chineke, lives in every single one of us and not some entity outside of us, they will not have the attitude that they have right now. They will have no problem in making your acquaintance, regardless of what religion you belong to or what your faith is, because Madubuchi Bea is pretty much general belief system in all world religions. Unfortunately, it's not that way. Africa sees it that way. That's what Chiism, Godism is all about. I'm sure for every religion, the brotherhood, the kindred is solidified if we belong, to the same faith. That works for all religions. It's not a Christian thing to associate with your family members. That's who I'm going to associate with first before I associate with everybody else, provided my family is worthy of it. Otherwise, I rely on friends and strangers. But there's nothing wrong with the kindred that you develop from being from the same, religion, having the same faith. It makes relationships a little easier. There's nothing wrong with that. But just like in African spirituality, we have to understand that diversity is divine. Mm-hmm. All kinds of roses, red rose, white rose, pink rose, purple rose, blue, whatever kind of roses, but they're all roses. Cadillacs, trucks, 18-wheelers, BMWs, Mercedes-Benz, they're all cars. Same thing with motorcycles, ants, bees, insects, they're all insects. Trees, you don't have the same kind of tree, the Iroquois tree, the redwood tree, all kinds of trees, but they're all trees. We have to appreciate all of them playing a role in nature. Chineke is not stupid. There's a reason why things exist in nature. They all have a purpose. The diversity that we see physically and in the way we think, because we all love different things, but the idea is we love things. Whether you love short people and I love tall people, or you like fat people, I love skinny people, whether you like a Mercedes and I love the BMW, they're all different. But the fact is, what we share in common is the idea that we like things. We love things. So we find things that are common in us as human beings and as spiritual beings and have a relationship based on this commonality, because in the end, we'll have one thing in common when it comes to religion. For the most part, we're looking up to something greater than ourselves, and that something is the Almighty Creator that we call all kinds of names: Chineke, Olodumare, Allah, Jehovah, Ubangiji, Ufuzulele, Nkulu, whatever you want to call Chineke, but it's the same thing. So if we understand and appreciate this diversity being divine, and understand that what's important is that we appreciate each one of, appreciate ourselves as a representation of Chineke and stop separating ourselves from the Creator. If we can do that, then we will start to appreciate our relationships no matter how diversified it is in terms of our theologies and so on and so forth, we get to appreciate this diversity, but also be grounded in our own cultures and our own tradition, because in the end, all we're trying to do is pass things on to the next generation, so you have a blueprint, so you know what you've contributed to civilized behavior, like Dibia Chiedozie was talking about. Your science and your economies and your social systems, all that stuff is based out of your spirituality and religion and culture.
Yes, yes.
All
Absolutely.
human systems are products of religion. Let's remember that.
Yes, you did. Thank you so much. I have an announcement to make for everyone. I think you'll be excited about this. This is the last Sunday of every month. The last Sunday of every month, even if it's not the Sunday that we do Cheerism Live, because usually we do Cheerism Live every other week. But the last Sunday of every week, of every month, we're going to have 3 hours of separate information, providing different information related to Chees University, Chees Mahadum. So that means that the first hour is going to be a lecture on natural theology, which will be me. Then the next hour will be a lecture on Chees education, which will be DBIUD. The next hour will be a lecture by Dibia Chiedozie on African culture and AI. All right. How does that work? You pick. I will send that out. You pick which one you want to do. If you want to listen to natural theology, you log in at 10 a.m. If you want to listen to Chees education, you log in at 11 a.m. Well, 11:10. Give us a little space. And then if you want to do African AI, you log in at 12:10. Now, if you want to hear all of it, you're quite welcome to listen to all of it. But we want to have focused lectures. I'll give you a taste of what we'll be lecturing on in Chees Mahadum. Okay, so you get a taste of it before you have to actually go to the classroom to do it. Okay, well, it's actually going to be connected to the classroom, So I'm going to post that so that you can select which one. The thing about it is, if we don't have, for each class, we must have at the least 6 people to attend. If I don't have 6 people register, because you have to register. If I don't have 6 people to register, minimum of 6 people to register for African natural theology, I will not give that lecture, and I will let the people know. Once it's 10 a.m., maybe 10:10, and I don't have 6 people who are attending, then the program is not going to hold. All right. So you have to register, and if at 10:10 we don't have 6 people, then we're not hosting. And that goes for DBIUD, and that goes for Dibia Chiedozie, because our time is very important and we're devoting this time to you. All right. So you have to register. The registration is going to be on the website, Chees Mahadum. All right. You go there, you register for whichever class you want to register, and we'll let you know what time frames they are. And that's the last Sunday of every single month, so that you can now pick on the other days you can attend, and obviously Cheese them live, and we talk about everything and anything. But it's going to start getting more and more focused to bring us closer and closer to the center. Okay, so that you know what what Chees University is going to be teaching in that particular department. Okay, Department of Natural Theology, what I'm going to be teaching, and what Dibia Chiedozie is going to be teaching in African AI and African history, and DBIUD African cheese education. So I hope that you guys will find that interesting. I know I'm excited about it, and and I think you will as well. And what's going to happen is at the end of the program, each one of us will take questions from you, based on what you've heard. We'd like you to ask questions, not just the comments. The comments are good. Make the comments, but at the same time, we want you to ask specific questions that we can answer for you. All right. So we're just kind of moving this August, the last Sunday of August. I like the last Sunday because last Sundays of the month. It's the last Sunday of August is going to be the Ultra, where we have a conference of different African religions that will come together on that particular day, so that we can have a conversation about who we are and how we can go about coming together under the umbrella of Chiism. Doesn't mean you don't have your religion. That's perfectly okay. But under the umbrella of Chiism, how do we come together and work together to make African people a better people and a prouder people, if I may use that expression? And Dibia Chiedozie, your thoughts on what I just shared? And then you, Dibia Yudi.
Yeah, it's going to be a very good one. I think it's the best way to start, because if you can't start big, you start small. Mm-hmm. And when you start small, you start growing. And that's exactly how the universe started. Whether you go by Big Bang Theory or creation story, and we also see that in pregnancy, is from the fusion of two cells, male and female, and the division starts. So we start, and when we start, we keep growing. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. That's pretty much it. You got to start somewhere, right? And if you want to start at the top, you have a hard time, achieving success. Nobody starts at the top. You have to walk before you crawl. And even, you have to crawl before you walk. And even before you start to crawl, you still got to be able to, get on your stomach, right? Or turn around on your back as a baby. There's a whole lot going on, for you to become a solid human being. So I am very excited. Kudos to you, Okedibia, and kudos to you, Dibia Chiedozie, for, putting your money where your mouth is. You talk the talk, you walk the walk. You're able to recognize, avenues, to be able to achieve what we all have in common, which is solidarity and also moving Africa forward. And like we said, you're not one of those people that decided that you want to be a king too. You understand? We have a Chase network where we can all pitch in and be successful in everything we're doing as individuals, and collectively we are feeding off each other and like a family, not just the three of us on the screen, our children, or anybody else that, feels that they could really benefit something from being part of this Chase network. Come one, come all, let's build it. I'm so excited. First steps, let's do it.
And just to add, Dibia Yudi, if we're all free to bring guests to our own. If there's somebody that's going to illuminate a little bit more what you're trying to present, then by all means, of course, we're going to invite them. But if you want to have conversations, but based on your, what you want to share on that particular day, so be it. But I think this is a good way. This is a good way for us to begin the process of learning, expanding our knowledge about African everything, African spirituality, African AI, natural theology, leadership, whatever, but it's the last Sundays because that's a relaxing day. You can watch all of it if you want, because it comes back to back. Okay, it's back to back. So you can watch all of them if you want. If you just want to watch one at 10 and the other one at 12, that's up to 12, 10, that's up to you. If you want to watch 10 and 11, that's up to you. If you want to watch all of it, by all means, we're there at those times, to accommodate your interest. So I think that's what's good about what we do, is we're not selfish about what we do. we would appreciate if you guys start making some donations. Yes, but we don't base what we do on whether we get donations or not. We do it because we want to do it as how we serve Chineke. All right. He always says if you want to prophesy, you have to. You need funds, right? But at the same time, all of you can say, quite frankly, that we have not focused on money. If you have not been here and we just focus on money, we pretty much focused on the information that we want to share. So we're going to continue to do that. I want to share the website for those who do not know. Let me see. I know I have the website listed here. African, okay. Well, I for some reason I don't see. Yeah, there you go. I'm sorry. There we go. That's Chiism Mahadum, ChiisMahadum.org. If you go there, you will see these. It's pretty much, we use StreamYard because it allows us to have these conversations. You can type in and have a conversation with the presenter. So the link to the StreamYard will be on Chiis Mahadum. Okay, so that's going to minimize you trying to figure out, oh my God, where's the, which one do I go to? It's right there. It shows you the link where you can go 10 a.m. to 11:10. 11:10, the next one starts. 12:10, the next one starts. So the DBS know what time their programs are going to be held. So that's what we have for you. I hope you guys like that, and we look forward to it. But just remember, ask your friends, family members, whomsoever, to join, because we have to have around 6 people registered. As a matter of fact, you will see registration on the UD and I are going to work on this today to put just the small registration there where you register and we know which class you're registering for. So we have to have at least 6 people. The interest has to be there. If I don't have 6 people, I am not going to do it. So that's basically that. Thank you guys. I'm not feeling extremely well today, so I think this is where we're going to end our program today. Unless you two have something else you want to talk about, then I'll let you continue.
No, that's pretty much it. Just to repeat, the core of what it is that we're talking about. In the end, we just can't talk about it. We have to be about it. We have to support every effort, geared towards achieving this needed unity, between people of African ancestry, because it's the only way that we can be able to do it. It's the only way we could be able to have institutional backing, like the Muslims. Islam has strong institutional backing. So does Hinduism, Shintoism. All these world major religions have institutional backing. And when I say institutional, I'm talking about religious organizations, maybe a paramount organization. And they also have what we call imperial patronage. In other words, the government also supports every effort to make culture paramount. Not saying that one culture is better than another, but within my own border, my culture should be paramount. Everybody else is just a guest. Mm-hmm. You have a right to worship Chineke in the way you understand best, but by every means necessary, your primordial spirituality or religion should always be paramount above everybody else. It doesn't mean you cannot coexist. Yes, you can, but it just means that we come first before anybody else, because if you go to their own environment, that is their rule too. They come first before you do.
That's right. That's right. DBH, is there any closing thoughts before we go?
Yes, I say we keeping fit and we keep flying the kite and we keep the spirituality on.
Yes.
And we will keep growing in number. Never say die. Thank you all.
Thank you all, and please do remember at most on Tuesday, please go to Chiis Mahadum so that so you can find out how to join us for the lecture series. That's what that is. Until then, Akachi, thank you so very much, and Zainab, and everybody who joined us today. Thank you so very much for being here. Dibia Yudi and Dibia Chedozie and Dibia Obi. Dr. Pierce is no longer with us. She had an appointment. She did make that. She did tell me about that. So on that note, we're going to say, "Kemesiano, yagazie."
Yes. Bye bye.
He said,
Yagazie.
Sekudala sisebenzele mva yela lekukade sihleli singezinto sekudala